Hello, and thank you for your patience. My name is David Sue, and I'm a vice president at Jobs for the Future, a nonprofit dedicated to the transformation of the education and workforce systems, leading to equitable economic advancement for all. And I'm thrilled to be here today to discuss an effort by the Biden administration to promote the creation of a diverse and skilled pipeline of workers for good jobs in advanced manufacturing. As you'll surely hear about later, major legislation passed over the last few years is driving significant investment in the need for skilled workers in many sectors, including advanced manufacturing. Our discussion today will explore the big picture of these investments, as well as dive into the work being done by successful leaders and organizations. We hope that you'll learn about what's happening and, importantly, how you can get involved yourself. So we'll kick off the conversation to be led by JFF's CEO, Maria Flynn, who has been at JFF for more than 15 years, and she was previously at the U.S. Department of Labor as a senior executive. She'll be speaking with someone who's been central to driving the Biden administration's agenda. Neera Tanden is the White House Domestic Policy Advisor and Director of President Biden's Domestic Policy Council. Previously, Neera wore many hats, including serving as the president and CEO of the Center for American Progress and as a senior advisor for health reform at the Department of Health and Human Services under the Obama and Biden administration. So Maria and Neera, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, David. And thank you, Neera, for being here with us.
Hi, Maria.
Today. Great to see you. So a couple of questions to kick us off. So as David mentioned, we've had this really exciting moment with big legislation passed that is really targeting, an unprecedented really amount of resources across infrastructure, clean energies, the semiconductor industry, and as someone who has spent their career in workforce development, it's exciting to see where we are and the opportunities that this brings. But if you could tell us, how does advanced manufacturing kind of fit into this picture? And how do you think about the goals of the administration's advanced manufacturing sprint?
Thanks. Thank you so much for your question. And also just thank you for the phenomenal work. This is a high priority to the president, and that's why it's a high priority that takes a lot of people to build. And so we can kind of lead on it, but to really transform and provide maximal opportunity. We have so many great partners out there. So really grateful for the leadership that you're providing, and so many others, and everyone who's engaged here. I'd say first and foremost, I think the president really sees his economic agenda as one that's growing the economy from the middle out and from the bottom up. And what that really means in this space is we have passed transformative legislation, obviously the CHIPS Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act. These are the critical components of the Invest in America agenda. In each of those areas, we obviously have a critical goal of this administration, whether it's to modernize our infrastructure program or ensure our competitiveness in the global economy, or ensuring that we're addressing the climate crisis by really revitalizing or really dramatically expanding our investments in renewables. But in each of those areas, we see the opportunity of a kind of win-win. So, and what I mean by that is that we really are in this moment of incredible opportunity to leverage these investments to deliver for all Americans, and deliver for Americans who have honestly and candidly been, really not part of the high wage, middle class jobs and growing opportunity that these pieces of legislation offer. So when the president thinks about this, he doesn't just think about what we can do to build bridges. He thinks about the ways that really echoes across the ecosystem and across our economy, and fundamentally can be the opportunity for single moms who haven't really been in these jobs before. And so that's why we are so focused on the high quality of the jobs, that they're family sustaining wages, they offer free benefit or critical benefits, and that we leverage this opportunity. And that's why we've been hyper-focused on high-quality education and training programs like registered apprenticeships, scaling partnerships that ensure advanced manufacturing jobs are quality jobs, and expanding eligible pathways to good advanced manufacturing jobs. And in all of this, I think everyone knows First Lady Jill Biden announced the sprint in October. We kicked off the sprint with the White House convening and bringing a whole series of employers and unions and others engaged. And we're really trying to drive as much activity to ensure that, as a society, as a community, as a country, as neighborhoods, as states, as cities, we're maximizing the potential of this moment.
That's great. And I know you are really someone who has always centered equity really at the forefront of your work throughout your career, and now, as part of the Biden administration. So tell us a little bit about how you see these types of cross-sector partnerships, as you mentioned, employers, unions, community groups. How do those groups come together to really create these equitable opportunities for workers? And what do you see really as the kind of potential here in this moment?
You can see where this really works. I mean, we now have experience of where it works, and so we can look at how it works, and it really just does depend on everyone willing to partner with various sectors. Employers can partner with labor unions or expand registered apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeship programs. Community colleges can launch or expand high quality programs in advanced manufacturing that really share curriculum with each other and engage directly with employers about needed skills. High schools can expand career and technical education. This is a real moment for career and technical education and ensuring that people see that pathway. We're going to do a lot at the federal level, philanthropy, community-based organizations, providers, like really a whole suite of organizations can come together to really ensure that we're that we're providing the benefits where people need them, the specific benefits and skills they need to succeed in the workforce opportunities in their community.
That's great. And it's been terrific to see the emphasis put on supports like childcare, particularly that's coming out as part of the semiconductor funding as well. So,
and we really, that's an important statement about that benefit, but also it's an important statement about who we expect to be part of the job creation.
Exactly.
It should just be that we ignore the huge potential of 50% of the workforce to address to take part in these jobs. So
great. So, we have many people who have signed up for this conversation today. How can they get involved in the sprint? How can they make a commitment?
That's a great question. So we're eager. We're glad everyone's tuning in today. We want to hear about the great efforts you're currently leading. We encourage people to commit to the sprint by expanding high quality, equitable education training efforts. You can join the effort writ large. We have in your invitation landing page for this event. There's a survey link where you can share your commitment with the White House. And we're looking forward to lifting up these models and your efforts. We're really trying to build action and activity and most importantly, programs on the ground. And so we really appreciate your participation and that you're engaged in this work.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great to have kind of the legislation in place and the funding flowing, right? But it all comes together within communities on the ground. So
yeah, I would just close my portion of this by saying, it's really the people on this call who are going to make the difference on whether we actually do achieve our climate goals. Because if we don't have people, if we don't have the workers, we're not going to meet our goals. You're going to make sure we actually achieve our goals of our infrastructure goals, our Inflation Reduction Act goals, our CHIPS and Science goals to make the country more competitive. Because if we build it and they don't come, it will not go launch, and it won't get built if they don't come. So, we've put out a vision, but we need the workforce to do it. And most importantly, the real opportunity that we can all be excited about is that it is this is a moment we can build a vision of a workforce that truly encompasses all of us.
That's
So
great.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Nira. It's great to see you. And David, I will pass this back to you.
All right. Thanks, Maria, and thanks to Nira for joining us. I think you're speaking our language. How can we move to action, and how can we really embed values in it, like childcare? So that's great. We're now going to move to a panel where we can dig in a little bit deeper to some of the specifics of how we'll actually engage leaders across the country who are doing this work. And so we have a couple of those leaders who can give us their experience so far. It's a great group, and you can find their bios online, but I'll just give a quick snapshot for each of them. So our discussion is going to be moderated by Brendan Danaher of the National Economic Council at the White House, where he serves as Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director for Labor at the National Economic Council. Previously, during this administration, he was at the Transportation Department and has had a long career and leadership in several different unions. We also have Amy Densmore, who is the Career and Technical Education Manager at Parkland College in Champlain, Illinois. Her role is in leading workforce innovation initiatives that directly benefit both their students and local employers. And Parkland has done some amazing work in many ways that you'll hear about. And finally, Amanda Ballantyne is the Executive Director of the AFL-CIO's Working for America Institute, which has been the workforce development arm of the AFL-CIO for 50 years. She brings nearly 20 years of organizing, policy, and legal experience in unions and NGOs. And just to acknowledge, you might have seen in the materials that we had sent out that we had planned to have the CEO of Akash Systems present, and they're also doing really great work, including with a local union. But due to a last-minute scheduling change, he wasn't able to join us. But Amy and Amanda are certainly doing a lot with employers, so we'll get their perspective there. So Brendan and the panel, I'll turn it over to you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. It's great to be here and to see both of you virtually. Let's just jump into it and start having a good conversation about this. Amy, we'll start with you. It would be really helpful to hear about how community colleges like Parkland contribute to workforce development in advanced manufacturing.
Hi, I'm really honored to be here today. Thank you for the question, Brendan. Community colleges are pivotal. We tailor education to industry and employer needs, including serving as a group sponsor for USDOL registered apprenticeships. Parkland offers targeted, flexible, advanced manufacturing programs that are developed with our industry partners, and they feature hands-on training by faculty who have industry experience. As workforce development leaders, community colleges connect diverse partners, such as community-based organizations, education providers, K-12 representatives, employers, and others, which fosters collaborative relationships, and that ensures that comprehensive services benefiting our constituents are happening.
Terrific, thanks. And Amanda, looking to you, would love to hear about the AFL-CIO and unions generally, and how you contribute to the development of a skilled workforce, and especially around registered apprenticeships. Thanks.
Sure, Brendan, and thanks for having me. Thanks to our friends at JFF. It's really an honor to be here. The AFL-CIO is a federation of 60 international labor unions. We're the largest federation of labor unions in the United States, and our unions represent about 13 million workers in every sector of the economy, including manufacturing, advanced manufacturing. We also have state federations of labor in every state and Puerto Rico. And in many counties and large municipal regions, we also have central labor councils. So just to lay that out and say the labor movement has, in any city, state in the country, we can help connect with the labor movement. We have had a long history with workforce development and training in every sector. And one of the core pieces that we're really focused on is ensuring that training programs are really engaging workers and giving them the tools they need, not only for the job right in their immediate future, but also, we're training for the long term and creating a home for working people as they need to train and upskill. We have deep connections with community colleges like Parkland and like other community colleges around the country, and are really working also to create a pipeline for workers from high school career tech education, maybe to community college, to a job and hopefully a job at a union employer.
Terrific. So for each of you, it would be really interesting to hear you walk through your motivations, or your organization's motivations for joining the Advanced Manufacturing Sprint, and then how you see it enhancing your work, your communities, and the creation of good jobs, as well as the manufacture of critical components that's needed for our country's competitiveness. Let's start with you, Amy, and then we'll go to Amanda, please.
Great, thank you. The workforce sprint in advanced manufacturing is in line with several initiatives going on Parkland's campus right now. Parkland's a recipient of the Strengthening Community Colleges Training Grant from the Department of Labor, and that's allowed us to implement competency-based education in our manufacturing programs. Parkland is the workforce development lead in the IFAB Tech Hub, which is focused on biomanufacturing, and that's through the Economic Development Administration. So these funding opportunities have driven the expansion of our apprenticeship programming, and that's increasing the number of employers and community members that we're serving.
And I'll jump in and just say we're just delighted at the onshoring and reshoring and development of a new industrial manufacturing sector in the United States. It's been a long time coming, and the potential to really rebuild our manufacturing infrastructure and create good quality jobs it's just a remarkable, I think, generational opportunity. Unions in general and the AFL-CIO are really focused on ensuring that there are pathways in these manufacturing investments to good quality union jobs because of the role that unions play in ensuring that that jobs are safe, that they're equitable, and that workers have access to a voice on the job. For decades, we have sponsored joint labor management apprenticeship programs that have offered a pathway to the middle class in good jobs. And we'll say that, I think that we are used to in this country thinking of manufacturing jobs as just automatically good jobs, and just want to remind folks that it really was unions that made the manufacturing sector into a sector of good jobs. And that's what we want to ensure for this workforce going forward. So we're delighted to partner with the Biden administration and grateful for the leadership of the administration in helping us think through how to really build the workforce and to build an inclusive workforce ecosystem to make sure that these jobs create really bright futures for workers across the country.
Great. So I think we heard Neera and Maria talk a little bit about the president's Investing in America agenda, and to remind you, that's the rescue plan, ARPA, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which we sometimes call BILL or BIL, IRA, which is the Inflation Reduction Act, and then of course the CHIPS and Science Act. And so within those programs and that agenda, how do you see the results directly or indirectly supporting this work and the work that you do? And what are some of the benefits? And then also, how are you all involved organizationally? We'll start with you, Amanda, since we've been starting with Amy. I will mix it up and go to you.
Okay, well, I will just start by saying that across the federal investments of the Biden administration, there's been a deep engagement with the labor movement in working to make sure that labor unions are really partnered on the ground with, the workforce boards, with community colleges, and with employers. And we like that. We want to see it continue. To us, these investments are game-changing. They will be life-changing for working people, and they will, I think, fundamentally change our economy. And I think the ability to sort of create equity through these jobs and ensure that working people are sharing in the benefits of these investments is an incredible opportunity and certainly very welcome. Across the country, we have a team of people at the Federation who are working on ARPA, on the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, and really engaging not just in ensuring that our local federated bodies and our union affiliates are at the table and talking to employers and talking to the administration to shape these investments, but there were also participating in the development of new workforce hubs with the administration. We're encouraging our local bodies to partner with community colleges, to be working with state and county officials, and to make sure that both on the building trades side, which our brothers at the North American Building Trades Union, brothers and sisters over there, are really focused on helping with the builds, that at the WAI Working for America Institute, we're really, really focused on what's the future of advanced manufacturing. How do we develop curriculum with employers and with community colleges, making sure that worker rights and worker voice is really centered in those training opportunities, and then again create those partnerships to those pathways through partnerships to those good jobs.
Thank you so much. Amy.
In addition to what I've already mentioned, Brendan, President Biden's agenda brings these incredible training and career opportunities in advanced manufacturing into the spotlight where they belong. The Parkland community directly benefited from American Rescue Plan funds by providing additional financial support to our students during the pandemic, as well as providing those funds to the college to ensure that we could continue providing the highest level of student support remotely to our most vulnerable populations. Funding that helps us remove barriers for our students is critical to our mission.
That's great. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about diversity in the workforce. What steps are you all taking to increase the diversity in advanced manufacturing? And that can include recruiting, retaining workers, ensuring that there's a fair selection process for workers and particularly underserved workers. And then what impacts are you starting to see right now? Amy, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Amanda.
It's very common among larger employers to see the highest diversity among their level 1 or entry-level workers. So upskilling those individuals diversifies higher levels within the organization. Also, something Parkland and other community colleges offer is a K-12 career exploration, which connects youth to careers in manufacturing early so that school children and their families understand the exceptional careers available to them. Parkland has an early college program in manufacturing for high school juniors and seniors. So those folks could potentially finish half of an associate in applied science degree while they're still in high school. We also offer summer discovery camps for teens that focus on manufacturing skills and careers. Those are really fantastic. We have an instructor, frequently a high school instructor, who's available during the summer, who's able to meet those folks where they are and introduce them to the wealth of careers that are available, and they get their hands in there and get to really try those different skills and equipment and machinery and learn about the careers out there.
Terrific. Amanda.
I'll start with the second half of your question about retention. Mm-hmm. And just to say that labor unions, I think, are very, very critical to ensuring job quality in the manufacturing sector. And we see, and there's plenty of statistical evidence to support this, that unions are also critical in creating more equitable pay and benefit structure because of the transparency that the collective bargaining process brings to compensation in the industry. So when we think about how to create good jobs that make workers want to get those jobs and stay at those jobs, a union and the transparency that it brings and the equity in terms of benefits and the emphasis on sort of merit-based promotion and those things are really critical in ensuring, that a diverse workforce is really positively benefiting from a good job in the manufacturing sector. In terms of creating pipelines, we have been developing a deep connection between our teachers union, which is very focused on developing career and technical education programs. So the American Federation of Teachers has been a close partner in the federal investment work we've been doing around workforce development. And really sort of building a conversation about the role of, high school education in creating pathways, not just to get workers or to get potential, students kind of up to speed, but to create a career readiness program that touches on soft skills that might help them figure out how to train for an interview, certainly pass an entrance exam to get a manufacturing job. but that career and technical education is really just a pipeline that can connect to a broader workforce ecosystem that includes community colleges, but also includes access to employers, and potentially internships at manufacturing facilities that might help a student figure out if that was the right pathway for them. So what we're really focused on in this moment right now, the opportunity we see is to sort of recreate a much more connected workforce system that really helps young people and people who need to train and reskill navigate not only getting the skills that they need, but also then getting the connections they need to the employers who might hire them.
Cool.
I would add that the apprenticeship programs that we sponsor are a fantastic way to increase diversity in the workforce, and we're seeing that every day. It's actually very exciting because we're bringing in individuals who likely have never attended college, they've never had that opportunity, or were told that college wasn't for them. And so now that they're adults and they've been working for a number of years, this opportunity is being presented and they're grabbing hold of it. And so that's been an exciting part of the apprenticeship sponsorship piece for Parkland.
Thanks. It would be great to hear more about your approach in bringing in new partners into this, and what you've done in work between employers and colleges and unions, state and local leaders and others in this space. And then after this, looks like we have a couple of questions from the chat, so I will add those to our discussion here in a moment. But we'll start with that about partners.
Should I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think for us in the labor movement, what we're interested in this moment is the opportunity to sort of reconnect partnerships that historically have been very connected in local and regional areas. One of the things that's interesting about a lot of the federal investments is that there's an effort to create sort of regional clusters of advanced manufacturing investments, which I think gives the opportunity to create sort of regional centers of excellence. And I know the White House's workforce hubs is a first effort to sort of build out and make those connections. We think it's a great strategy. And so we have been both, at the federal level, starting to build and convene sector tables that can help inform universal standards curriculums, but also working really on the ground to sort of create ecosystems where the labor movement is really serving as that sort of connection between community organizations, high schools, community colleges, and represented employers. I'll also say that we work with, the labor movement does workforce programs in a lot of different areas, and sometimes even with employers who aren't yet unionized. So we think that is an important way for workers to make connections to get the training and education that they need.
Amy?
We listen to understand employer needs and then offer customized solutions based on what we hear. So Parkland leadership is in daily communication with external entities to discuss how to strategize and work together to grow our state's economy and opportunities within our community. Parkland creates pipelines from the K-12 system to employment with on and off ramps along the way so that each individual person or entity we serve has a personalized path forward. Additionally, I'll talk a little bit about our union partnerships. We have associate and applied science degrees that we have developed with our local trade unions that grant credit for the apprenticeship process that they have gone through to become journey workers. And then they combine that with another 30 credit hours at Parkland in order to earn an associate in applied science degree. So we have quite a bit of interest in that. I think that's a wonderful partnership we've been able to develop.
So next, there's this, seems like a really simple question from the chat, but I love it because it's really important. What do you all think when you think about good jobs? What's a good job? Amy?
I think a good job is one that an individual can be mentally and physically healthy in performing, that pays a sustainable wage that not only allows them to meet the minimums, but to be out of the paycheck to paycheck mentality or lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Also something that someone can be proud of. I think it's important that since we all have to work for the most part, that you get up in the morning and you're excited about what you're going to be able to do, and whatever that is for you, if that's to serve other people or to build something, to design something, to create, whatever makes you feel job satisfaction. To me, that's a good job.
Thanks.
I would echo a lot of what my colleague here said. I think a good job pays a family sustaining wage. It allows a worker to take vacation, to have sick time, to have family leave, to have access to the ability to save, maybe buy a house. I think a good job provides stability, predictable scheduling, so that someone can provide care for their family. I think a good job is something that a worker can rely on and depend on, and is not afraid is going to just sort of disappear. For us, a good job is also a job where a worker has a voice on the job through a union to negotiate over their working conditions, their health care, their benefits, their pension, but also over how things are going in the shop. And so for us, worker voice is a critical component, not only to achieve a good job, to help workers get to that high quality job, but also then to maintain that job and to really be partners in the enterprise and sort of share in the benefits of the wealth that they are creating.
I think you're absolutely right, Amanda. That's a great point about having a voice. And I think that applies to mental health in the job as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really think, as you think about work, that dignity at work is so important to attract and retain workers, but it's also essential for companies that in this new industry are working to grow and to be productive. And that's how we retain the highest quality employees at workplaces. So thanks to whoever posted that question. That's super helpful. Wanted to pivot a little bit and think about advice that you all would provide. I mean, you're on here because you each have a different experience and a broad perspective. So what advice would you each give to other regions or to organizations that are looking to establish similar apprenticeship programs? Amy, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you for that question. I recommend that group sponsors start with one supportive, engaged employer, preferably one you have an established relationship with, so that you can learn together. And then I strongly recommend that you get yourself a mentor, because you are going to have questions you have not imagined yet. You don't know what you don't know. So I have what I call my BFF at JFF, and that group is growing. They're wonderful folks to work with and have really helped Parkland get to where we are with the success in our apprenticeship programs.
I would say that everyone on this call should be engaging with local labor unions in your region around your workforce development program. You can do this with labor unions locally, even if the employers you're working with aren't organized. Remember, we have labor organizations in every state and region in the country. And if you need help making those connections, just get in touch with me or my team at the Working for America Institute, and we can help make those connections for you. I also think that really, when you're working on designing kind of workforce development programs, inviting labor organizations in to help consult. For us, that also means a role in governance and decision-making capacity around how you would develop a program, incorporating worker voice into your program. One of the things that doesn't get talked about very often is how much expertise working people have in terms of how to actually do their jobs. They really understand what makes their work more efficient, what's safe, what's not safe. And often they understand more about a production process than like a foreman who isn't on the floor every day. They figure out the workarounds, and thinking about partnership in a way that you're thinking of workers, not just as like an expense on a budget sheet, but really as partners who can help shape and make work more productive. Having that same sort of mind frame around when you're designing workforce development and training programs is a great way to create really exceptional programs that combine both knowledge from workers who know how to do the work in a specific way and management who are interested in certain goals of the company, right? And so we would say think partnership across every aspect of the programs that you're developing, and get in touch with the labor movement, because we really do want to get engaged and help develop and design these programs.
So as we think about advice to other folks that are doing this, and then mentorship as you start to develop it, what are some of the barriers that you've run into over the years? I think, getting prepared to do this work or expand the work that you're doing oftentimes is not just about what's working, but sort of being prepared for some of the challenges ahead. Are there any thoughts that you have about barriers to building these programs and what folks can do to either seek advice or to be prepared for it? Amy, we'll go to you, and then perhaps we'll go to Amanda if you have thoughts.
Sure. I find a challenge with developing apprenticeships, a barrier. It can be employers being ready for the apprenticeship model. It's really hard to get out of the rut of this is how we've always done it, and we're so busy, we're understaffed, we can't take on anything new. But we know that the old ways aren't working. We know that people aren't staying in the jobs, aren't even applying for the jobs. And so changing that company culture is one of the first steps, but it can take a lot of meetings, a lot of conversation, and sometimes even some changes in leadership, because that culture has to change from the top down or the bottom up. It doesn't matter how it happens. But we need to make sure that when employees are apprentices and they need to go to class, that they pretty much get pushed out of that facility to go to class because they've made that commitment. But when you have a supervisor who's evaluated on productivity, that's difficult to make that change happen. Also, a mentality to prioritize mentorship, to prioritize ensuring the workplace is inclusive. That all takes time. So that's a barrier that I see in my work.
Thanks.
And I would just say briefly, Brendan, I think that this moment, and I think Neera said this at the top of this session, like there's an incredible demand that we won't meet for developing this manufacturing workforce. We will not meet that demand unless we really dig in and partner together to build pathways that connect people to these jobs, that help people upskill and retrain. I think there are a lot of challenges around, a lack of relationships at the local level and also at the federal level. And I think really emphasizing and developing partnerships is key and critical in this moment right now.
Well, thank you both. I mean, this really is such an amazing moment with all of these opportunities that are out there through the IIA programs. And just want to really encourage folks that are online watching and listening to commit to the sprint. There's a link to the survey. Please fill that out. That is, I believe, in the YouTube chat, and it's pinned there. So if you all could take some time and really fill that out, that would be terrific. And I am going to turn it over to David to wrap us up. Thank you so much. Really appreciate both of you and appreciate the invitation from JFF.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much, Brendan and Amanda and Amy, for your participation there. I hope everyone who's watching has learned a little something today about both the real pressing workforce needs that we have, but also the opportunity there really is to make impact. Here at JFF, we have a new North Star, which is that in 10 years, 75 million people facing systemic barriers to advancement will work in quality jobs. So that discussion of good jobs was very relevant to us. And we know that we aren't going to meet that goal without big, ambitious goals and actions, and also partnerships with people across the country. So we're really excited that the work that everyone on this call is doing will help us reach that big goal. And we'd love to partner with anyone who's interested. So please also reach out to us. Just a few quick takeaways before we close. I'll echo what Brendan just said. Please do get involved. If there's something that you can do from your seat or your position of leadership, please take some action to support the work. And make a commitment to the White House sprint if you're in a position organizationally to make that happen. It'll give some public commitment to it, and the White House can really support and recognize you if you make that commitment. Third, if you can share information about the sprint or this webinar with a friend or colleague, we'd love to spread the word. And finally, just echo to get in touch with us here at JFF. So with that, and on behalf of my colleagues here at JFF, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.